There are moments in life when the world feels too loud and too heavy, when the noise of fear and confusion drowns out even the faintest whisper of peace. Maybe it's in the quiet hours of the night, when you're staring at the ceiling, replaying the same pain in your mind, the job you lost, the diagnosis you never saw coming, the person who walked away, or that weight of responsibility that never seems to let up. It's in those moments that the heart begins to ask questions it never thought it would. Why does this hurt so much? Why does it feel like I'm fighting a battle I can't win? Where is God in all this? People often try to comfort us with a simple phrase, God won't give you more than you can handle. It sounds good. It sounds like something the Bible would say. It feels like a warm blanket on a cold night, but the longer the suffering lingers, the thinner that blanket feels. Because when life truly breaks you, when your knees hit the ground and you can't see a way forward, that phrase begins to sound less like comfort and more like pressure. If God won't give me more than I can handle, then why am I falling apart? Why can't I seem to hold it together? This message, the one we'll walk through together, isn't about pretending that pain doesn't exist or forcing a smile when you're barely breathing. It's about uncovering what God really promised. You see, the Bible never said God won't give you more than you can handle. What it does say, again and again, is that He will never leave you in it alone. God doesn't measure your life in how much you can handle, He measures it in how much He can carry. When life gives you more than you can bear, that isn't proof that God has abandoned you. It's often proof that He's calling you closer. Because sometimes He allows the weight to grow heavy enough that you finally let go, not in defeat, but in surrender. That's where faith begins, in the breaking point where your strength ends and His takes over. So, if you're watching this and you feel exhausted, like you're one breath away from giving up, stay with me. This isn't a story of failure, it's a story of endurance, of divine strength, of grace that meets you in the ashes. God doesn't promise a painless path. He promises His presence in every step. And when it feels like too much to handle, maybe that's exactly where His greatest work is waiting to begin. Because the truth is, God never meant for you to handle it all. He meant for you to hand it to Him. Number 1, the misunderstood verse, what the Bible really says. So, let's start by clearing up something that has confused many believers. That familiar phrase, God won't give you more than you can handle, isn't a direct quote from the Bible. It's something people often say to comfort, but it can sometimes create more pressure than peace. When we struggle, we might hear it and feel like we're failing God because we can't handle it. But the Bible actually frames it differently. Look at 1 Corinthians 10 verse 13. Paul writes, "No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful, He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it." Notice something important here. Paul is talking about temptation, not suffering, not heartbreak, not financial ruin. He's talking about the moments when sin lures us, when we face moral tests. God promises a way through, a way to endure temptation. But that doesn't mean God will remove every burden or trial from our lives. This is where the misunderstanding happens. We hear the phrase and apply it to every hard thing in life. The truth is, God often allows trials beyond what we think we can handle, and He does it for a purpose. He doesn't abandon us in these moments. He walks with us, He strengthens us, and sometimes He uses these trials to draw out a faith we didn't even know we had. The promise isn't about avoiding struggle. It's about experiencing His faithfulness through the struggle. Understanding this changes everything. Instead of blaming ourselves for not handling it, we start looking for God's strength in the midst of it. Instead of thinking we need to carry it all alone, we realize that God is right there, ready to carry the part we cannot. The Bible doesn't say you'll never face more than you can handle. It says you'll never face more than God can handle through you. Number 2. When life breaks you, God's strength in your weakness. Sometimes life doesn't just test you, it breaks you. It's the point where you can't muster the strength to face another day. You've prayed, you've tried, you've fought, and you're still overwhelmed. It's in those moments that God shows up most powerfully, but not in the way we often expect. Paul understood this when he wrote in 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Those words are revolutionary. God isn't saying, "You don't have to be weak." He's saying, "It's in your weakness that my power shines the brightest." Think about it, the moments we feel most inadequate, most fragile, most worn out, are the moments where God's strength steps in. Look at Elijah after his confrontation with the prophets of Baal. He had just seen God's power in action, yet he ran into the wilderness, exhausted, terrified, convinced he was a failure. Under a broom tree, he said he wanted to die. But God didn't shame him. He brought rest, nourishment, and gentle guidance. God didn't take the struggle away immediately. He gave Elijah the strength to keep going, the courage to rise again. Your weakness isn't proof of failure, it's a signal that you need God's power. When life piles on, and the weight feels unbearable, it's an opportunity to lean in, to stop pretending you're self-sufficient, and to discover the grace that carries you through what you cannot handle alone. Your breaking point is not the end, it's the place where God begins His work in you. The beautiful part is that God doesn't abandon you at the breaking point. He meets you there. He doesn't require perfection, He requires dependence. And in that dependence, His power isn't just available, it's perfected. So when you feel like you can't handle it, remember, that's exactly the moment His strength becomes yours. Number 3, the weight has a purpose: trials that transform. Life's challenges often feel random, unfair, and unbearable. The bills pile up, relationships fracture, dreams collapse, and every morning seems like a fight to just keep going. In those moments, it's natural to ask, why me? Why so much? The truth is, God's timing and purpose are far beyond what we can always see. And often, the trials we think are crushing us are actually refining us. James 1 verses 2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Notice the language: trials are not meaningless pain, they are opportunities. They are the tools God uses to shape endurance, character, and faith. Pain becomes purposeful when it leads to growth, not bitterness. Think of a piece of gold. The refining fire isn't comfortable, it's intense, scorching, and almost unbearable. But that fire removes the impurities and reveals the brilliance hidden within. Your trials, no matter how heavy, are the fire in which your faith is being refined. Every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of feeling defeated is a step toward spiritual maturity. Even in the darkest seasons, people throughout the Bible experienced trials that seemed impossible, yet God used them for greater purposes. Joseph was sold into slavery and thrown into prison, yet those trials prepared him to save nations. David faced giants, betrayal, and exile, yet those hardships shaped him into a king after God's own heart. Your struggles are not signs of God's absence, they are His instruments of transformation. When you feel overwhelmed, remember this: God is not giving you trials to punish you. He is using them to teach you to trust, to endure, and to grow. The weight isn't meaningless. It has a purpose, a divine purpose that may not be visible today, but will shine clearly in time. Number 4, the God who carries, not just commands. Sometimes, in the middle of life's heaviest seasons, it's easy to imagine God as distant, a commander standing above, telling you to handle it, expecting you to endure on your own. But the God of the Bible is nothing like that. He is not a distant observer. He is the one who carries us when we cannot carry ourselves. Isaiah 46 verse 4 says, "Even to your old age and gray hairs I am He who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you, I will sustain you and I will rescue you." God's promise is simple. He doesn't just give instructions, He provides support. He doesn't leave you to struggle alone. He lifts the load you cannot bear. Picture a parent carrying a child who is too tired to walk. The child isn't failing, the parent is fulfilling their role with love and strength. That's exactly how God works with us. He doesn't expect you to carry the weight alone, He invites you to hand it over. That's faith, trusting Him enough to admit that you don't have to be strong on your own. When life feels unbearable, God is already there, carrying the pieces of your heart that are shattered, lifting the burdens too heavy for your shoulders, and walking with you in the storm. The beauty of this truth is that you are never too weak, too broken, or too weary for God to carry. You don't have to pretend to be strong. You don't have to hide your tears or your fear. He meets you right where you are. The weight may not disappear immediately. The storm may not calm instantly. But God's presence is constant. And sometimes, that is enough: His hand holding yours, His grace sustaining you, His love carrying you through the unbearable moments. Number 5, the example of Jesus. Even the Son was overwhelmed. When life feels heavier than we can bear, it can be comforting and humbling to remember that even Jesus experienced moments of overwhelming sorrow and fear. In Matthew 26 verse 38, Jesus tells His disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." He was about to face the cross, the weight of humanity's sins pressing down on Him, and yet He didn't hide His anguish. This moment teaches us a profound truth: feeling overwhelmed does not mean a lack of faith. Jesus, fully God and fully human, experienced deep, genuine anguish. His strength did not come from pretending the burden didn't exist. It came from surrender, from turning to the Father and saying, "Not my will, but yours be done." Life may not remove the cup you are asked to drink, but God gives you the courage and grace to drink it with hope. The brokenness, the fear, the tears, they are not signs of failure. They are signs of authenticity, signs that your humanity is real, and signs that God's power is about to show itself through your weakness. When you are crushed by life's trials, remember that you are walking a path similar to the one who carried the world's weight on His shoulders. You are not alone in your struggle. Just as Jesus was met by the Father's strength in His most desperate hour, you too can lean on God's power in your moment of need. The struggle does not define you, your faith and surrender in the struggle do. Number 6, you are never alone: God's presence in the fire. There are moments when trials feel like a furnace, scorching and unrelenting. It might be a season of grief, financial hardship, betrayal, or illness, a fire you never asked for. But the Bible gives us a powerful picture of God's presence in the midst of the fire. Remember Daniel 3 verses 16 to 28, when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown into the blazing furnace for refusing to bow to an idol? They faced certain death, yet when we look closely at the story, we see something extraordinary. A fourth figure was in the fire with them, like a son of the gods. That was God Himself walking with them in the flames. This story isn't just ancient history, it's a promise that applies to your life today. The flames of your trial may not disappear, but you are never alone in them. God steps into the fire with you, carrying, protecting, and strengthening you. Sometimes, the miracle isn't that the fire stops, it's that God makes you able to endure it while His presence sustains you. Modern life has its own furnaces: loneliness, heartbreak, debt, illness, anxiety. And just like in the story of the three friends, God doesn't always remove the fire immediately. But He does walk with you through it. His presence transforms the unbearable into something you can endure. Your struggle becomes a place where God's faithfulness, love, and power are revealed in ways that would never be possible if life were easy. The fire is not the absence of God, it's the place where His presence becomes most evident. The very moment you feel you cannot continue is often the moment His power is most present. You are never alone. God is with you, carrying you, even when the flames are fierce and unrelenting. Number 7. Learning to trust, from control to surrender. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to let go of control. We want to fix everything, solve every problem, and carry every burden ourselves. Yet Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Trust isn't passive, it's a deliberate act of surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop trying, stop hoping, or stop fighting. It means you stop trying to control outcomes that are beyond your reach and start placing your life in God's capable hands. It means admitting that your strength alone is not enough, but His strength is more than sufficient. Faith grows in the tension between what we want and what God knows is best. When you stop clinging so tightly to control, you open yourself to His guidance, His timing, and His miraculous provision. It's in the act of surrender that fear begins to loosen its grip, anxiety starts to fade, and peace emerges in the most unexpected places. Think of surrender as opening your hands. You release the weight you were trying to carry alone, and in that moment, God lifts it with you. Your struggle becomes an invitation to trust, and trust becomes a path to freedom. The storms of life are still there, but your perspective changes. You no longer face them alone, you face them hand in hand with the one who carries you. Surrender is not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a deeper relationship with God, a relationship rooted in reliance, trust, and the assurance that you are never truly alone. Looking back at everything we've discussed, the truth becomes clear: life will bring challenges that feel impossible to bear. You will face heartbreak, loss, uncertainty, and pain that tests every ounce of your strength. But the promise of God is not that you will handle it all by yourself. The promise is that He will be with you in the midst of it. God doesn't measure your trials by what you can handle, He measures them by how much He can do through you when you surrender. He meets you in your weakness, strengthens you in your brokenness, and walks with you through every fire, every sorrow, every overwhelming moment. Your breaking point is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of a new chapter written by God's grace and power. When you feel like you can't go on, hand your burdens to Him. Let Him carry what you cannot. Trust Him even when you don't understand, even when the night feels endless, even when your heart aches. His presence is more powerful than any trial, and His strength is made perfect in your weakness. Remember this: God never meant for you to handle it alone. You were meant to hand it to Him, to lean into His grace, and to discover that His love is greater than any burden you face. The weight may be heavy, but the God who carries you is heavier still, heavier with love, heavier with power, and heavier with promises that will never fail. Hold on to that truth today. In your trials, in your pain, in your overwhelm, you are not alone. God is with you. He is for you. And He will carry you through.